News with Gina.
The news with Gina Grad.
This half of the show brought to you by Tommy John and LifeLock and Geico. What you got?
Well, since we have Dr. Spaz here, we'll get into some medical mysteries. I wonder what your thoughts are on this. More reports coming out of the Dominican Republic, people getting very sick. Apparently, there's the 9th death now of a tourist. He's from New Jersey. He's a New Jersey man. He became the 9th American tourist to die while vacationing in the Dominican Republic. 55-year-old guy found dead in his room at the Terra Linda Resort last Thursday. His friends say he was complaining the night before about not feeling well. He went upstairs to get some sleep. His family says he did not have any pertinent health issues. They're looking for answers. Alan's the latest tourist. A few days earlier, a 53-year-old woman from New York died at a resort in Punta Cana. These are all different resorts. And fans of the singer Jimmy Buffett are now added to the list because 2 months ago, and I guess that's why it's coming out now, maybe they didn't think it was news 2 months ago, but now that we're all hearing about this, in April, there was about 100, parrot heads, Buffett fans, that did a big, meet up there.
Right.
And one of them lost 14 pounds due to, and I quote, crippling diarrhea.
Well, if I know Buffett fans, they're now just obese. They went from morbidly obese to just obese.
Yeah. A few of the victims told a similar story. They became very sick. They drank the liquor from the hotel mini bar. But one victim says he didn't, but he did notice a lot of people who were sick were using the swim-up pool, swim-up bar. This was at the Hotel Rio.
They were talking also about all the insecticide and stuff that you must have to spray. Like if you're running some resort there, you've just got to spray constantly. Right.
Well, if there's bootleg liquor and there are containers that had pesticide, but you separate out what are things that kill you quick and what are things that kill you intermediate and slow. So quick is opiate overdose, heavy metal, something like arsenic, or opiates. If you have fentanyl, if there's some opiate in there and you stop breathing spiked or so and it depends. Is it coming from the pool area? Is it coming from a bar? But
now that they're kind of discovering that there's this mini bar connection, no matter what resort you're at. Adam, you said, I don't know, right when we started reporting this, that there is sort of there is kind of a bootleg liquor trade that I hadn't heard of. I didn't know that was a thing. But they just sent a bad batch.
I'm certain everything is bootleg there. That's number one.
My thought now is that, you've seen not necessarily Bar Rescue, but those kind of shows where they'll pour shitty liquor into the nice liquor bottles. We had someone on, the Who Wants to Sell This Shit, who was selling bottles, remember?
Sure.
People would buy them. I wonder if there's a thing where it's to save money at these resorts, they're pouring, essentially rubbing alcohol or some equivalent mixed with, mint flavor into the Jägermeister bottle.
Well, but these are not mom and pop. This isn't like you're staying at somebody's house.
They're still being managed.
Giant resorts.
They're still being managed.
Suppliers.
Yeah.
Suppliers.
I don't know.
Bottom line.
All I can fixate on is my new favorite person talking head on TV is the person who goes, all these tourists are dying in Dominican, Big Papi, everyone else. I mean, this is a real problem. And then somebody goes, Big Papi was shot in the back. Then that's not part of this. And I go, yeah, I understand, but you got Big Papi, you have all these tourists, and someone just fucking told him, shut up.
Totally
just stop. You're not allowed to bring this up again because he was shot at a bar. That's not part of this. And then they go, I get it.
As I was saying.
He was a great baseball player. and they just do it. It's weird, right? There's more of that in the news these days than any other time I've ever been alive.
By the way, his condition's been upgraded to good.
Oh, good.
So he's at Mass General now.
Yeah.
Soon he'll be mid-condition.
Harvard's teaching hospital.
So that's kind of the thinking now is that it's these.
Is it nefarious though, or is it accidental? That's the other thing.
And who has to transport Big Papi? That's got to be shit. If I'm driving an ambulance and it's we got an emergency, I'm like, please let it be kid hit by a moped. Please don't let it be Big Papi.
Not first baseman for the Red Sox.
Please not. You see that guy on the ground after a night of eating and drinking? Oh shit.
Bigger Papi.
Where's that thing we used to get the dolphins out of the tank and put it into the other tank?
The net crane?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. Why do they call you Big Poppy anyway?
We had a lady come in yesterday, came in shortness of breath after trying to do CPR on her cat. So
What?
Really?
She's a hero.
the cat lived.
She had shortness of breath.
She was having chest pain, shortness of breath because she was doing CPR on the cat.
Old, fat, or both?
Old, 70.
Makes sense.
Hey, watch it.
Well, that makes sense.
You're triggering me
on
again.
the cat.
How dare you?
Well, again, since we have Dr. Bruce here, New York became the latest state to end religious exemptions for vaccinations, and that did not sit well with some people. As the bill passed in the state assembly, spectators began yelling at its sponsor, Jeffrey Dinowitz. According to the New York Post, one man in Orthodox Jewish clothing, a lot of Orthodox Jews, by the way, attended this, threatening him. Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the bill into law just hours after its passage. New York has seen an outbreak of measles, and many cases have occurred in the Orthodox Jewish areas in Brooklyn. Some sects forbid vaccination based on an interpretation of the Bible, and I don't know if we have the video ready because we have it, but they are just hauling off at this guy.
Yeah,
my people.
Yeah.
You know who we're not scared of? Jews.
Religious exemptions to the state school vaccination requirements just passed narrowly.
They're up top.
People in the galleries are
Not happy.
So what's the law? Or what's the thing they're protesting?
That you're no longer allowed to have a religious exemption for a vaccination.
You have to get vaccinated?
Yeah,
I imagine there's a loophole or two. But there's I don't know, Dr. Bruce, you're part member of the tribe. If you're going super, super fundamentalist, like in any religion, you're bound to get things that, kind of raise your ears a little bit. In the Orthodox Jewish community, the way certain moils do brisses, you can transfer herpes.
Yeah.
You can transfer STDs. I mean, this is some stuff that is not from 2019.
Here's the thing. Here's where all right. Everyone join me on Reasonable Street. I am for your religion if you own a bakery and your religion says man should not marry another man. You do not have to bake a cake for that gay couple. You can and should bake a cake for any gay group who comes in, but if they go, this is for my marriage, and you're devout something, you don't have to, and then the gay couple can go across the street and go to another bakery and they can get a cake and they can have a marriage. I don't need your business shut down if those are your religious beliefs.
And also, we don't need to give you, or anyone who believes that, I wouldn't want to give you my money if you weren't a fan.
That'll take care of itself. The problem with your kid is your kid can get measles and bring it into the class, and that can affect all the other kids in the class. So then we do need to intervene with that. This, we don't need to intervene because you can go across the street and it's not going to hurt the other kids in the class. So you can say, well, that sounds inconsistent. I think it's super pragmatic. Let people practice as long as they're not affecting other people. This potentially affects other people, and then we have to get involved.
Right.
What disturbs me about this, some of my people are a little blocked in the Middle Ages, but this is taking away the attention that should be paid to lunatics like Jenny, whoever.
McCarthy?
Yeah, whatever. The people that have a big voice, that are out on the internet, and the average community, you got these lunatics that refuse to vaccinate their kids. And they're not, you can go to this doctor in Santa Monica and he'll sign you off for $40 visit, whatever, saying this kid doesn't need to be vaccinated. But there's you get the Hasidic Jews in New York, and how many are there in the country? But you got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of progressive people that are anti-vaccination, and I think that's why there's once you get below 84% vaccination, then you get into epidemics. You have to maintain the herd vaccination
I'm with
rate.
the vaccinations the same way as I am with the DNA samples. Like, fuck it, it's 2019, people.
Exactly.
Sorry,
Common sense.
We live in a society. You can get on a plane and be in another continent in 15 hours. We're sorry. There are things we have to do. That's fine. You have to have car insurance. You have to pay your taxes. You have to vaccinate. This is a bunch of stuff we have to do. We'll just add this to that. That'll be fine. If not, go take up residence in Mexico or something.
Well, or there should be, a certain amount of hoops. I mean, if you're the parent of the one kid who can't get vaccinated, there will be a lengthy and involved process to go, okay, understood, everyone, but not my kid, and here's why. And that way you can still maintain the 83%.
Right.
It's not just, like getting a service dog thing online.
But I'm the same way at the kosher meal on the airplane, which is, oh, you want a kosher meal? Oh, we don't have a kosher meal.
Bring
Fuck
a
off.
kosher meal.
Bring a kosher meal. Bring a fucking pickle and put it up your ass, douche. Fuck you with everybody with this shit where we got a vegetarian this, fucking do your own thing.
I can't decide if Adam likes the Jews or doesn't like the Jews.
I love the Jews.
When they're reasonable.
I realize
But,
that
there's a butt coming.
they jump the Shabbat every once in a while. They get too Jewy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They go too hard Jew.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You did
Sorry.
just play a clip of Woody Allen talking about herring, so I guess
I love that
back on
movie.
track.
Herring.
Well, by the way, for the kiddish luncheon after every, because we had to go to Shabbat every Saturday morning for my entire life, and I always thought this was a Jewish thing until I, tuned into Prairie Home Companion and all the Norwegians. Every kiddish luncheon had a giant platter of creamed herring. I never
now they
tried
love
it.
it.
I've never had it.
It's a herring-based
My
economy.
grandfather loved herring. I love the Jews because of my grandfather, because everyone in my family is a fucking nut job, and my grandfather was like normal and made lunches.
That's
and
all my
things.
father got out of your book. Oh, his grandfather was a Jew.
He's a good dude. Like he was a regular.
And he's a good dude, right?
Good
Yeah.
dude. Yes, I've always, and every Jewish family I knew growing up was sort of intact and normal. All the goyim were a fucking mess. So I got that early and often.
Yeah, except my Jewish friend said, "You're not a Jew." I said, "Well, I'm not. I'm half." "No, you're not. You're nothing." If
Oh,
your
because your
father's
dad's Jewish.
I'd say I was enough Jew to be roasted in Hitler's oven, so shut the F up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. I was
That's
angry.
good.
Or
You're
Valley.
Jewish.
What?
Yeah, you're just Jewish.
You tell me how to handle my... I don't have an identity now.
Or at the California border with Mexico, according to AOC.
Right.
He roasted there too.
Hey, so, just for clarification, when I said C word, I meant comrade, not...
Oh, obviously.
I can't
We
use
all
that other
did.
C word
No,
and
no.
maintain my
course.
board certification.
So we talked about Bill Cosby the other day. He made sure that his friendly Father's Day tweets came out. And there's a little more Cosby news today. He is working pretty hard in prison, not in the laundry room, not in the kitchen. He's giving lectures. His reps say the
of a
comic
cell.
has a large audience in prison who come to listen to him lecture a few times a week. According to TMZ, Cosby talks about leading by example, staying out of trouble, being a good father, finding work post-prison, tips on interview techniques. He mostly meets with a group called Man Up, which consists of inmates who are due for parole. Then he talks to them about getting on the right track, staying out of prison. And he manages to get quite a crowd going. About 100 inmates come to these lectures a few times a week.
We have a clip.
let's.
Oh, yeah. Hey, 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 it's America's dad. That's
I mean,
how he
he
opens
sounds
it.
great.
Yeah, he sounds refreshed.
Well, I have controversial thoughts about that. All right, so let's float this controversial subject. Man's sexuality. Historically, guys can be pretty far off with their sexuality in terms of doing things we sort of disagree with. Now, Bill crossed the line into criminality with his sexuality. But guys, we admire your Martin Luther Kings and your John Kennedys were pretty far over the line with their sexuality, yet we admire them. And our thing is sort of like, well, all right, they had their dalliances and they had their proclivities and some pretty crazy stories with Kennedy. But listen to what the man has to say.
Right,
He's
yeah.
still got some good
You
advice.
can separate the two.
Yeah, and I think guys especially have always been that way. Like guys up to everything else and then come back and then they may be good community leaders or whatever,
Right.
generals or run companies or whatever it is. So Bill probably has some good advice for people who are in prison.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been espousing all this advice for how many years? He was getting doctorates right and left.
Yeah, and he was saying, hey, folks, young black men, pull up your pants and speak the Queen's English when you're doing a job interview, and it'll be easier to get that job, you know? And he was saying things that was like, that made sense, but
Sure.
we weren't going to hear it coming from the aforementioned Woody Allen. We needed a brother up there to share the gospel. But again, we can separate that. Now, his sexuality spilled over into criminality, which is different, but everyone else he's preaching to isn't exactly a choir boy either. 'Cause
Right.
they're there for something.
Right.
So let him preach.
I would say the only difference, and maybe it's nuanced, but if you think of like maybe say like a speaker at a recovery meeting or something, and they're full of sort of self-reflection and humility, and and because of that they have wisdom to impart. I don't think that element is getting into Bill Cosby's lectures.
Well, here's what I would say. I would say if he's talking about how to conduct yourself in a job interview, I'm fine. If he's talking about you always open the woman's car door and shut it and then go around the back side of the car and open your door, you always... Now, don't order for the woman unless she asks for help on the menu, and then always let her order first when the maitre d'. Like if he's
she gets up, get up
you
also.
stand
Make sure you
when
stand.
she stands.
Yeah.
If he's giving tips on that, then you should tune him out.
It's like a
He's
very
got
good point.
No business giving those tips.
Agreed.
But if he's talking about how to make up a resume to get a job at like a sheet metal factory or something, then yeah, okay.
How to comport
All
yourself in
ears.
an interview?
Sure. Okay. There is this video going around, this viral video that is crazy in terms of turbulence on an airplane.
Bruce's son made it.
boy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's on there. So real quick, don't play it yet. So we've all experienced turbulence, and it can be scary. It's usually nothing. It's just air pockets, whatever. And on American airlines, I mean, literally airlines that are American, the flight attendants, get a heads up and, go hit your jump seat. But this maybe heroic flight attendant or whatever, they don't have the same rules. She wasn't so lucky. Yahoo News reports that frightening passenger video was captured during this severe turbulence on a flight between Kosovo and Switzerland on Sunday. And it shows this drink cart and the flight attendant hitting the ceiling so hard that they both, everything goes everywhere. We'll play it a couple times so you can see
Free
it.
travelers.
So and many of the people around the drink cart obviously were hit with things. They were scalded with hot coffee. I'm just going to show this to you guys. We can put it up too if you want. She's in yellow behind this woman.
Oh, she went up. Hit her head on the ceiling.
Everything goes everywhere.
There was a recurring scene in the show Lost. Remember they kept showing the plane over and over again? They showed someone hitting the roof over and over again. I think it wasn't supposed to be funny. It laughed every time. Hilarious.
Well, according to a spokesman for Euro Airport, 10 passengers were dispatched to local hospitals for minor injuries. Apparently, the flight attendant was just trying to collect all the drinks before this turbulence happened, but she didn't make it in time. She's in good health, but pretty scary.
I like that. Although no insurance company should ever have to pay her, because if there was ever an act of God, like a force majeure, come on.
Is the plane getting swatted?
Can't argue with that.
No.
You're literally in the heavens.
Yeah.
And he's just shaking you up like a rattle can.
That's right.
I mean, come on now. That's act of God.
That's a good
I'm not
point.
paying a penny if I'm the insurance company. Everyone in that plane, it's all force majeure.
You're in God's backyard.
Her vertical was outstanding.
Yeah.
And what I assume was heels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to just leave the seatbelt on. Why not? I'm so used to it these days.
It's weird. I used to have a fear of flying. I did when I started this show, and that's when we started sort of touring every weekend, so I had to get over that fast. But I don't anymore. But turbulence never bothers me.
Fear of flying is right up there with fear of everything that everyone thinks is baked into their DNA, and it's absolutely not. I did zero flying from 0 to about 31, maybe 32, literally zero. And then at a certain point at age... Let's see, at age 33, 34, I went on the road with Dr. Drew, and we were playing colleges all over the country. Like, you're doing Syracuse this weekend, and then you're coming back
and
where it was. Hitting Iowa on the way back or something. And we're just on planes all the time. And I hated it, and I white-knuckled it, and I was nervous the night before, and so on and so forth. And now it's just get on and off of planes all day. And my son gets on and off planes all day because that's part of his life. And so this notion of I have a fear of flying, you don't have a fear of flying, you have no experience with flying. And some people are wired a little more neurotic, like the folks that were complaining at that. They said they needed to be vaccinated.
Gina.
Yeah, but
I I've been flying my entire life, and it just kind of hit me as an adult. Like, I don't like this anymore.
Oh, well, that's more the exception than the rule.
Yeah.
The rule is like you don't like flying because you don't fly. Like you don't like flying. You don't like tarantulas because you've never held a tarantula.
Right.
You grow up around them and hold them
biggie.
and whatever. It's not that big a deal. And so for me, I just realized the more I flew, the less I cared about it. But I did not like. It's almost like in this modern age, you should get your kid out to the airport a couple of times before their 15th birthday to get them acclimated, because I never went on a plane once, and all I would do is sit home and see news spots about commercial airlines crashing and be freaked out by it. I never want to go on an airplane.
Right.
I worry somebody's going to have a full arrest or get sick, and I don't have to take care of them the
You're
whole
the
trip.
one. Yeah.
My friend had that happen. The guy died in the front of the plane. They had to carry him to the back.
Oh, God.
He was going to China. And then they kept him at the airport like 5 hours after the coroner got there, and then they said, "Thank you."
Wow.
That's not a perk of the job.
Your friend was on a flight
to China.
And
an old guy had a cardiac arrest at the front of the plane. So they were doing CPR and they were doing whatever they could. And it was like 2 hours into this long flight. And so then, okay, now what do we do? So they wrapped him up, carried him to the back of the plane, through the plane. And then
Jesus.
They were coming from China here. And so when he got to LAX, they were like, well, now what? Well, you got to stay here until the coroner gets here. And it was like,
because your friend's a doctor.
Because my friend's a doctor, right?
Was he doing CPR on that cat, or is that a different dude?
No, that was the...
He got winded.
I'm not really listening.
He's a good Samaritan. He's a cat Samaritan.
Bruce, have you ever had to do like medical stuff at like a restaurant, a public place?
Oh, at the Raves. Yeah.
No, but like not when you were on duty is what I'm saying. Off duty.
He wasn't on duty.
Oh, he was attending the Raves.
Elmo backpack and his glow stick.
Stopping an accident. I was stopping at car accidents usually. I was on the way to Loveline one night. This guy crashed his low-rider pickup truck into the freeway, and blood was flying out of his mouth. I think I showed up all bloody that night.
Yeah,
and going home that night, there was another accident I had to stop at. So never rains or pours.
That was one of my fake movies. I got to dig this one out, Max Zapata.
Uh-oh.
Was Rave Doctor. It was the doctor so he was a physician whose son OD'd at a rave, and now he's working as a rave doctor, and he's traveling the land. It's got a little Incredible Hulk, a little Bill Bixby. He's trying to find the drug dealer who poisoned his son. Ooh. But meanwhile, he's having to save these kids the whole time. He's always a step behind.
Right.
He's right on the heels of finding the guy who killed his son. But meanwhile, duty calls when the kid starts convulsing. He's got to jump in. And love is found on occasion as well.
Hey, did I get credited? It sounds like something I planted the seed.
I said love is found.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
Where
were we?
All right. So, the success of a television miniseries examining the world's worst nuclear accident at Chernobyl has driven up numbers of tourists wanting to see the place for themselves and the ghostly abandoned town that neighbors it. This is according to Reuters. I just finished it. I mean, it literally just aired, and they're reporting, tourist agencies are reporting a 40% rise in trip bookings since the HBO series began in May.
40%.
Yeah. 4 people came.
Oh, look at the picture. I mean, there's a line out the door to see this.
No, but I'm just saying it is kind of funny that they were having it. There was a Chernobyl tourism board already.
Number.
Right? Yeah.
They've almost doubled. How much tourism before this was there?
It's like a Simpsons joke, like touring, like vacationing in Chernobyl.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I guess you get on a bus in Kiev, which is about 75 miles away, and they take you over there. You can look around. The area around the plant retains the feel of this post-apocalyptic wasteland. It was home to 50,000 people who mainly worked at the plant. Due to the radiation, which should be present for the next 20,000 years, according to livescience.com, the rules are very strict for visitors. I mean, there's no lounging around or taking things with you. Don't take anything to the state. You can't sit. You can't set your stuff on anything.
How's the conversation with the wife go? Like, all right, I'm thinking either Maui or John Benet Ramsey's house or Chernobyl. What's your take? It's only those three.
Seem real bad.
Well, we did in Maui the last 2 years.
You're saying John Benet Ramsey's house in Maui seem bad?
Yeah.
No, there's one that could literally kill us. With
They think the brother might have done it.
No, with the radiation.
From the pineapples?
No, the one close to Kiev. The one.
All right. All right. I think what I'm
ground
hearing
is
is
still
I've narrowed
radioactive?
it down between John Benet Ramsey's house and Chernobyl. So, shall I surprise you?
Maybe I'll just head off to Maui. You can do what you got to do.
I'm also toying with going to Guyana, where the Jim Jones mass grave is.
The Flavor Aid?
Yeah.
Hey, Mom and Dad, you guys talk about vacation this year?
Yeah,
Oh,
we got
trying.
Chernobyl, we got Benet Ramsey. I mean, the Ramsey residence.
I'm familiar.
And French Guyana, where Jim Jones laid his stakes down.
Okay, so, either of us is fine. As long as
Waco.
you
my
sweetened
God.
the pot.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Maui again,
Or
I'm fine
Ruby
with
Ridge.
any of the.
Maybe you guys just want to do a boys' week?
All right. Like over at the Federal Building in Oklahoma City?
No, we did a field trip there earlier this year. Don't you remember?
Oh, okay. Oh, how about we go to where that mine collapsed in Cuba? Chile. What about
We
that?
could go 3 Mile Island.
Okay.
Yeah, closer.
Oh, that's better.
That's right. Have to get our passports.
You
Yeah.
guys have a great spring break. I'll be in Kauai.
We are.
I'll
Yeah,
see
okay.
you next Monday.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, we can go we want to stay local. We'll go to the Symbionese Liberation Front burnt out house in Watts. That we can get to this evening.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
to
that's a daycation.
Let's
like
do
a
that.
plane or anything.
Yeah.
That's right.
And in case you're wondering, and do you know anything, Dr. Bruce, about microsieverts? That's the
the measure of
quantifying
radiation.
Right? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I
Well,
know what it is.
I'll just give you a little. Yeah, Brian, maybe you do.
Also, it was units of gray. Is that something different?
This is for radiation specifically. According to the tour guides, you're only exposed to about 2 microsieverts of radiation. And I don't know why this was the example they gave, but she said to put that in perspective, that's equal to the amount of radiation you'd get staying home for 24 hours. And I don't know if that's implying because your TVs and modems. I don't know what that's implying, but they said that the people who were at the plant when Chernobyl melted down, that was equivalent to getting about 120,000 chest X-rays at the same time.
Yeah, fly cross countries like a chest X-ray, supposedly.
Right, because you're closer.
Right.
You're
There's
closer to the sun.
background radiation. And
So what about like Colorado and places that have high elevation?
I don't think it's an increased risk of cancer from that. Things like radon, other, in the house basements, there are
Got it.
other places more likely.
So happy vacation.
I could feel the air was thinner when we were in Colorado for the first time. I've never really experienced that. We were just driving around all day, and then we jumped out of the car and we started up these stairs, and I could feel it. I never really felt it before.
Have you raced at a higher altitude, though, where it affected you had to adjust your carburation or anything?
No, but I do know there's an issue with like Pikes Peak and stuff like that, where they have to kind of the air's thin, and it makes it tough, and that's why I think the future for all those records, like the mountain climb on Pikes Peak, is all going to be electric cars, because there's nothing to combust,
right?
There's nothing, and it's immediate torque and all that kind of stuff, but I mean. There's issues about altitude, the thinness of the air, and the density of the air, and how that affects negatively the internal combustion.
Did Sonny notice that your drinking was more violent?
No, he said it was medium violent.
Okay, so normal. So that didn't change.
No, I don't feel. I've been there. We've done the Aspen a few times and stuff like that. I didn't notice it. Jimmy yacked in the elevator onto like some executive or something, but I never experienced that with the altitude. But I did when we got up to Red Rocks. I guess Red Rocks is probably up even more, and it was probably at the 6,000 or 7,000 foot range, and you could feel it.
Yeah.
And if you were like a super hard rockin' band, like John Popper's probably got to pull up a stool at Red Rocks. He's going to be blowing and blowing and blowing and singing and blowing.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those amazing, talented DJs who pushes the button on your smartphone and then jumps constantly in front and sprays whipped cream into the audience, you might have to slow your roll a little bit. Some of those people may not experience the majesty of you jumping up and down like a retarded person and spraying Dijonnaise into the front row like fucking Gallagher.
Just take your helmet off once in a while.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. All right, Gina, let's do one more.
All right. Well, again, since we have Dr. Bruce here, this is an embarrassment of riches. You know a lot about meth.
Yes.
I don't know if you know how it affects squirrels, but I might have some questions about it because Fox News reports that an attack squirrel housed in an Alabama apartment and fed methamphetamine by its owner to make sure it stayed aggressive and stayed an attack squirrel, was rescued on Monday. The squirrel was removed from the alleged drug den by investigators following a bust at an apartment. The sheriff's office said that prior to the drug raid, officials were told 35-year-old Mickey Polk, we're looking at him right now, kept an attack squirrel in his home, and that it's illegal in Alabama to have a pet squirrel.
Definitely not a Jew.
Yep. Officials found the squirrel and released him into the wild. That was the recommendation. As for Polk, meth, drug paraphernalia, and body armor were seized from the apartment. Is that squirrel going to be okay?
Squirrel will never have ADHD again.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
I know.
Focus.
Any kind, but
Methylphenidate.
when you get a patient that's been on methamphetamine, it's the most destructive to the brain. You have somebody who's been shooting heroin. If they live through it and get sober, their brains are usually pretty intact. But the methamphetamine addicts, they're just never the same.
Really?
Well, yeah, and the paranoia is sometimes permanent. Well, it depends. It just has more toxicity. It has more neurotoxicity.
Do you feel like that squirrels have a high circulating amount of meth in their system already? Like if you see the way squirrels react, like their heads always popped up, they always like going, "What? Who's talking about me? What's going on?" Yeah, they just run out in the middle of the street and then stop, and they look around, then they run. Like if you take a panda bear. Pandas act like they've been eating pot brownies their entire life.
Yeah.
Like they just sit there with their feet up and they super slowly go about like just eating their eucalyptus or their bamboo or whatever. They're just like sitting there. Squirrels seem that way
edgy
already.
Yeah.
You got to keep moving to stay alive. It's a genetic.
I guess, but
they're prey.
once
I thought you were going with the environment. That I drove from LAX up to Silver Lake because the freeways were blocked on side streets, and with the homeless population, we're talking about drugs and the drugs in the water supply, in the road. These animals eat, leftover food, whatever, waste products from people. They've talked about antidepressants in the water, and the fish are killing themselves. You've heard those crazy stories?
No.
Yeah, they're doing crazy. Fish are doing,
but they're
crazy.
Antidepressants.
Yeah, but they're
fish.
disinhibited. They're not afraid of anything.
Oh my God.
So, and opiates.
I'm free.
No. Yeah. So what do you do when this stuff gets in the water supply? All these people using the drugs, they don't all get metabolized to something else. They get into methamphetamine. You measure, guarantee you look in the water that's flowing out of anywhere in L.A. and there's meth and heroin like.
Heroin. Yeah. What do you call the hero in a novel who's a female?
A heroine.
Come on, buddy.
I'm not thinking. I'm just speaking.
Yeah. So it's weird and depressing on like a million different fronts and levels. What we're dealing with people out on the street and just sort of the waste and the trash and everything else.
Speaking of the aforementioned heroin, I remember having my young, balding, chubby mind blown listening to Loveline, probably working at the time, and Drew's like, yeah, heroin doesn't really have a negative effect on your body anywhere. Like the people using it, like the habits it creates and the sharing of the needles and blah, blah, but the actual like heroin, apparently, this is what I remember. Drew's like, yeah, it doesn't really have much of a negative effect.
Well, fascinating. Since he said that, we've learned so much about receptor systems. What happens when people abuse an opiate, different people react differently, but you actually have involution of the receptors. So some people permanently, it's like, why do some people crave forever? Other people react, they get off it and they're okay. But some people's receptors never come back. So when you take an opiate, those opiate receptors your body destroys them because they're not used to this super strong stimulus. And some people don't grow them back.
So Drew's a liar.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's just, the research with receptors and all this neurophysiology is amazing just in the last 5 to 10 years. It's changing psychiatry, it's changing addiction medicine. Wow.
So what is you made the joke, I'm sure, for a reason. And I got prescribed Ritalin when there was only Ritalin when I was little and haven't been on it in a million years. But what is the difference between meth and, methylphenidate or methamphetamine or, what we give kids and what we try and get, addicts off of?
Adderall is amphetamine salts. Methamphetamine is metabolized to amphetamine. Exactly the same thing. Somebody does a line of meth, like 50 milligrams minimal. You take Adderall 10, 20, 30 milligrams extended release. So your brain's getting an extremely small amount over a long period of time. You're just priming that part of the brain that puts the brakes on things, so it slows people down. Now, if somebody takes the 10 milligrams of Adderall and snorts it or shoots it up, you're getting a blast of dopamine euphoria. So it's the same idea as if you take, even if you take opiates appropriately, some people get that. Some people take Norco, they get energy, they get euphoria. Other people, they just get pain relief. And that's because of all the receptor differences between different people. It's fascinating stuff.
All right, Gina, let's bring it home.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Here's the pecking order of people we're scared of. Black people, black people, black people, gay, black, gay, gay, black. That's who we're scared of.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.